This story begins when Mr. Utterson, a lawyer, and his friend Richard Enfield were walking through the streets. Both find a very strange house, and Enfield at that moment remembers a story that makes him angry. One night, Enfield was walking home and he saw a girl and a short man. Both collide, and the little man started to trample on the girl, and he left. Enfield was very angry, and he stopped the man to pay for what he had done. This bad man offered money in exchange for their silence. This man took them to the strange house that they had seen before and gave them a check signed, signed by a very famous character. This character it was friend of Mr. Aronson, and the check was authentic. To Aronson, everything was very strange, and he asked for the ugly man's name. His name is Hyde, but Aronson already knew this name. Aronson returned home and looked for the will of his dear friend Dr. Jekyll. Edward Hyde's name appears in the will. Hyde will inherit everything from Mr. Jekyll if he dies or disappears. So Anderson decides to investigate if Jekyll is being bribed by Hyde. Poole is Dr. Jekyll's servant. Poole tells Anderson of all the possibilities that Hyde has in the house of Dr. Jekyll. Then Anderson is invited to dinner with his friend Jekyll. The lawyer asks to the doctor about Hyde, and he got angry and said that he didn't want to talk about it. He would only like that his will to be fulfilled. Later, a young woman saw a cruel murder through her window. A short man murders an old man with a stick in the middle of the street. The woman called the police, and they found a letter for Mr. Utterson on the body. The next day, the police go to Utterson's house and tell him what happened, and Utterson knows that Hyde is the murderer of his client, Mr. Davies Carew. Utterson takes the police to Hyde's house, and they found that he is the murderer because in his house was a half of the stick that with which he killed Mr. Carew. Then Utterson talks to Jekyll, and Jekyll said that Hyde is gone forever. Jekyll shows Utterson a letter where Hyde is guilty of everything. Jekyll gave to him the letter, and he goes home with the letter. His friend Mr. Guest reads the letter and compares it to an invitation to dinner from Jekyll. Guest thinks that the lyrics look alike. The police cannot find Hyde, and Jekyll returns to his normal life with his friends, including Dr. Line. But this happens didn't last. Later, Jekyll returned to being an alone cold man. Utterson decides to visit his friend Lynn, but he gets an unpleasant surprise. His happy and healthy friend was now sick and sad. He told him that he had no idea about his friend Jekyll for a long time, and it was better if they didn't talk about him. Jekyll, Lynn, and Utterson don't talk to each other anymore. A short time later, Lynn dies. Lynn had left a letter to Utterson, but he couldn't open it until Jekyll died. Then Ireson and Elvin eh, see, saw Dr. Jekyll from outside. They invite him out, but he doesn't accept. Then Paul goes to Ireson's house and tells him that Jekyll was very strange. He only talked to Paul through letters and asks that they bring him some chemicals. Both went to Jekyll's house and knocked on the door of their room. Dr. Jekyll replied angrily, but it wasn't his voice. Paul and Ireson decided to break down the door, and they found that Hyde was dead inside. Also, they found an envelope with the name of Ireson, and Jekyll has left him all of his fortune. Ireson reads the letter of his friend Lynon. Jekyll had asked Lynon to give some things to an unknown person. That person was Hyde. Hyde means mixing the products in front of Lynon. Hyde took the mixture or drank the mixture in front of Lynon, and suddenly he became to Dr. Jekyll. Ireson was scared with what he has just read. Jekyll always had a problem with their personalities, good and evil. Jekyll wanted to separate their two personalities. Dr. Jekyll was the good part and Edward Hyde the bad. Jekyll changed their personalities when he took the chemicals. Unfortunately, little by little, Hyde was stronger without taking the formula. He couldn't control it, and for this, Jekyll commits suicide. Jekyll decided to end with his two personalities.